What did I just watch? Episode 1 of the Vince McMahon documentary is insane. I feel like it was almost an overload of information in a good way. It's a lot. And I just kept thinking to myself, what a guy. Like if I had a dad who owned a wrestling company, I would do the same thing as Vincent Kennedy McMahon. I couldn't let my father sell something so precious. The fact that he's seen wrestling, fell in love with it. Because he could have said, I want to be a wrestler. But he was fascinated business-wise. And I also think his father pushed him into that position because he was selling. If he wasn't selling, maybe he would have eventually tried wrestling. But I just kept watching saying, yep, that's exactly how I would have did it if I could have did it. Who would want to let that just leave? Like, no, Dad, you don't want it no more? Please give it to me. Let me earn it. Let me whatever. Now, I'll be honest. If you're watching it for the scandal, then go ahead, bro. But this ain't the channel for you. I'm so invested in the WWE as a whole that I wouldn't dare let that taint any of this. I need to know the creation of this. As we see it, we all know Vince didn't start wrestling. He didn't create it. But he created this world in this way that has this much history. And to get it to where we got it, I'm sorry, folks, but some hands had to get dirty. He couldn't have did this in a polite way or as a gentleman. He had to be cutthroat. And he was. That part when he was like, yeah, they always talk about it. They love bottom of rivers, but never worried me like that fool. Hey, it's America. Tough shit is what he was saying. I'm a businessman, and I'm not even here to flex like that. For somebody who's done all he can do, he could really flex harder, but he chooses not to. He's kind of coy in his mannerisms and wants to like be a mystery. And Triple H is saying it at the beginning of the doc, saying Vince is going to let you see what he wants you to see. Even this right here. We can all say, yeah, well, Vince didn't want it coming out. We can all say all of that. But the man did the interview despite what came after that. He wants you to see this. He just don't care nothing about the other stuff. What a man chooses to do behind closed doors. Let that all play out in court, civil suits, pay what you want. That's that man's business. I'm here for the wrestling. I'm here for this creation that we all continue to watch every Monday or every Friday. I want it to last forever for my kids' kids. So I'm taking that from this doc, and I'm appreciating the foundation of all of this. I kind of hate that they had that in the beginning, but I get it. You got to sell stuff. I get it. But the things I'm going to talk about on this channel are wrestling related. One of my favorite parts about this doc was when he said, still to this day, I hate the term pro wrestling. Man, you are that much of a businessman and entertainer and love entertainment so much that you don't like that term. Should we stop using that term as a society in the wrestling world? Vince hates it. Because you got that other side that still want to be like, oh no, we like professional wrestling. It's where, where the real ones wrestle. Like, to me, there's honor in that. But at the same time, everybody that's doing it from the dirt all want to get to the big show. Because it's still a show. You can have respect for a craft within a show. Which is what Vince did when he had guys like Bret Hart or purists. I'm sure he loved the craft, but he just didn't put that over business. And I can really appreciate that, because while I'm more inclined to listen to a guy like Bret Hart or have more admiration for a guy like Bret Hart, it still is in the form of this show that never stops rolling. I've said it before. I think there should be a Vince McMahon Day that they celebrate in the WWE. They got a 316 day. I mean, but I understand people can't, put aside this and so I get it. You don't want to taint your brand. Hey, man, I get all of that. But to me, like, Vince is legit the man in terms of what he did. And I thought it was crazy the way that he explained all the racism and all the racist gimmicks that were displayed. He's like, man, check out the movies. He brought Bruce. He knew who to call to explain that. He called old Bruce. He called old Bruce. I feel like Bruce can talk you into anything or make you understand anything. But he was right on point. And he was like, yeah, man, look at the movies. Like, we were all trained that way. And Vince said some real stuff, man. He said, hey, this is how we were all conditioned to think. That's why there wasn't anybody stopping me from doing these things or saying these things. We weren't kicked off the air. We weren't thought about as canceled, because this was America. And he's like, if you want me to be a little more smarter than the next. No, Vince didn't understand that. He was watching the Jerry Springer show himself, saying, hey, we need to get Vince Russo in here. It was all about the times, and I totally didn't agree with a lot of stuff they did. Still don't. There's still some questionable things where you're like, nah, did you need that segment? But I don't let it taint the entire art form. The same way things go down in the world, or there's a part in one of your favorite movies that you hate. I love Goodfellas, but they make some references towards black people that I don't like. Still love that movie though. Because I can understand that's how this guy sees this guy. I don't agree with it, but I'm still going to get the education I need from watching it to understand, okay, so this certain amount of people don't like this certain amount of people, or there's still people like this in the world. Or at this time, that's how people was talking. I'm one of the few people who don't mind how sensitive the world is these days, because I'm just like, hey, the world's been around long enough. There's nothing wrong with being that sensitive, because we all had our time. We had our time to talk shit to one another. We had our time to say some racist shit to one another without there being super duper consequences. Just like wrestling had its time to say this racist or this guy is a bad guy. But now you can't do that today. I like the fact that you can't do something today that we could get away with in the 90s or in the 80s. Everybody grows, man. You're supposed to grow. You're supposed to get better. So we're like, hey, you know what? How you offend another gender, or you're saying, okay, well, you don't like this term? Okay, it's not going to kill me to call you something else. That just shows how far we've made it in America. And I still believe it. And what they said in that documentary, you want to look at what was it, Tony Atlas that said it? But he said, you want to look at the world, look at professional wrestling. Like, I can dig that. Where are we at as a society? Let's see. So I'm taking from all this documentary, as a pure wrestling fan, just wanting to know how it was created, how these deals were made, the ins and outs. That is fascinating enough to me. I don't need the scandal. Starting a company, messing the territories up, and that is fascinating enough to me. I'm excited about the rest of these episodes. Episode 1 was incredible, man. The relationship with him and his father, I think everybody got emotional on, because we all have a father and everybody could feel that. And knowing that somebody as strong as Vince still felt that, because he seems like invincible, or like he doesn't have a feeling in the world. That was cool for him to show those emotions about his father. I wish I could have seen his dad do his thing or something. Maybe I have to go watch some old interviews or something, because I think that's really cool. I had a strong relationship with my father, and I just feel that, man. I think that one of the best things about a documentary, you see everybody that's in it at first. At the very beginning, they show you Stone Cold, Rock, Undertaker, Stephanie, Shane. You're just like, oh man, yeah. They got everybody. But I wish JR was in it, man. That's the only big thing I got going here. I wish JR was in it, but that's just wishful thinking. But I look forward to seeing the rest of this doc, and I'll cover them, step by step. But so far, so good, man. I woke up with this passion. I can go to sleep with it too. There won't be no distraction. I can show you how to get to it.